Okay, everybody, here we are. Ready for this year's ESC Congress? So what are we going to see? Which sessions are we going to visit?
Well, here it is. 40 years of PCI. It's a spotlight session.
I think it'll be really interesting to visit the best posters display. There's some really good discussions there.
There's another cardiology quiz this year on Tuesday. Guidelines implementation cases. That should be exciting.
Oh, and e-health to improve clinical practice. There are a lot of sessions on e-health this year. I'm not gonna miss it.
There's also TAVI, a new standard for aortic valve replacement, in these advances in science sessions. That should be very interesting.
So, what are we waiting for? To Barcelona!
To Barcelona!
We made it, all of us. Welcome to ESC Congress 2017. We have a remarkable scientific program in store for you, and I'm sure you will enjoy it. But before we go any further, I'd like to take this opportunity to publicly express the ESC's profound sorrow for the recent loss of life in and around Barcelona. A total of 15 innocent lives were taken in a senseless terrorist attack. Let's all stand as one for a moment of silence in honor. Thank you. Again, welcome to ESC Congress 2017. We're honored to see so many of you here. Just look around you in this hall. Nowhere else in the world can you find cardiovascular professionals for more than 140 countries coming together like this. This is unique. Yes, we are called the European Society of Cardiology. But this is such a profoundly global organization. From our very beginning, 67 years ago, we recognized that our diversity is our strength. And that philosophy has never been more important than it is today. To truly appreciate the ESC, it's helpful to understand who we are and what we do, our strategic plan. And it's easiest to visualize as a house. Let's take a quick tour, because there is a place in each and every room in that house for you. Every one of you. Starting with ESC Congress. Many of you traveled thousands of kilometers to be here with us, year after year. You recognize that ESC Congress is the summit of cardiovascular medicine. It's where you can discover more than 4,000 of the latest scientific abstracts, where you can network with the very best and brightest in the world of cardiology, where you come not only to be informed, but to be inspired. Many of you are presenting science here. Some perhaps for the first time. I can assure you, you will never forget the experience of an ESC Congress. And whether you're presenting for the first time or the 20th time, thank you. Thank you for contributing to this Congress, to your Congress. At last count, there are more than 31,000 of us here this year. Many of our colleagues are back home on the wards, in the clinics, in the labs. But they too can take part in ESC Congress. And more than 100,000 of them will be joining us online over the next coming days, watching extensive coverage on ESC TV or reviewing the presentations in our online library. Never before has this Congress been so global and so accessible. Let's take a look inside education and how the ESC supports your development throughout the year and throughout your entire career. The ESC's family of journals, we have now 13 cardiovascular titles, the vast array of online learning through the e-learning platform. There are more and more webinars and classroom courses, and our essential ESC clinical practice guidelines. We recognize that a career in cardiovascular medicine is a never-ending story of learning, starting in medical school, going through specialization, and then to super specialization. The ESC is tailoring its educational resources to meet your individual needs, to accompany you on each step of your professional journey. But neither Congress nor education could succeed without the ESC's commitment to research. Here we foster the relentless pursuit of excellence, to continually challenge and explore, always convinced that there is a better way to prevent and treat cardiovascular disease, and that we will find it. Many of you are involved in the 16 registries the ESC is currently running across 80 countries, building knowledge across the full spectrum of cardiology. The new ESC Atlas of Cardiology is a unique database created with our national cardiac societies that allows us to identify healthcare gaps and provides the evidence we need to justify more resources in hospitals and research centers. Because in the end, what's the point of so much effort on Congress, education, research, if people don't have access to vital drugs and treatments? That is why advocacy is so critical for the ESC, why we're working so closely with policymakers in Europe to adopt best practices that save lives and ease suffering, to ensure drugs and medical devices are extensively tested for safety and effectiveness, to build alliance with other organizations, include academics, industry, patient networks, and finally, the foundation of everything we do is membership. Many of you are connected to the ESC through your individual national cardiac societies or subspecialty groups, but many of you wanted something more, so we've added new enhanced types of membership. We created ESC professional membership to provide greater resources and special networking opportunities within our community. It's a unique community that stretches across continents and through every aspect of cardiology. And this week, we're adding new membership packages involving our subspecialty associations. I encourage you to stop by the plaza to learn more and to join us there for a cocktail reception immediately following this ceremony. ESC professional members now include a growing number of cardiologists from the United States, to Canada, to Brazil, to Japan, to China, to India, and everywhere in between. Because more and more of you recognize that the ESC is your society, and this house is your house. And we encourage each of you to take full advantage of it, especially this week at the ESC Congress. We have prepared a spectacular scientific program for you, And to tell you more about what's in store, here's the chairperson of the Congress Program Committee, Stefan Achenbach.
Thank you very much, Jeroen. Dear ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues, as Jeroen has mentioned, I have the pleasure to address you as the chairperson of the Congress Program Committee. This is a group of 81 cardiologists, surgeons, and scientists from all parts of Europe and, in fact, the entire world. The committee has been working hard over the past year to create a rich program full of the latest science and clinical knowledge, which I am sure you will enjoy tremendously. Over the next few days, you will be able to participate in demonstrations, lectures, and discussions in a total of 786 different sessions that truly cover the entire spectrum of cardiovascular disease and research. And as Jeroen said, this is your Congress. Your research forms a large part of the meeting. For the abstract-based content of ESC Congress 2017, we have received close to 11,000 submissions, each and every one of which has been carefully reviewed and graded. And out of all those submitted, 4,514 abstracts will be presented and discussed here in Barcelona in poster or oral presentation sessions. The late-breaking trials are always a highlight when the world of cardiology comes together. I'm certain that the trials presented at ESC Congress this year will be something to be remembered for a long time. We will have 4 exciting hotline sessions and 12 further late-breaking science sessions. And there are several new acronyms from those hotlines that I'm sure we will all remember for years to come, because the studies may answer incredibly important questions, such as Castle AF. Does AFib ablation improve outcome in patients with heart failure? COMPASS. Should aspirin or anticoagulation be given to prevent cardiovascular events? CANTOS. Can anti-inflammatory treatment reduce cardiovascular risk and improve outcome? DETOX. Should we give oxygen to patients who are admitted with acute myocardial infarction? Or PURE. What is the real influence of nutrition on heart disease? These and many others. Every ESC Congress has a spotlight, and this year we will commemorate a very special anniversary and a very special person, Andreas Grünzig, who was a true pioneer. In fact, it all started with a poster presentation. Here you can see Dr. Grünzig with his poster in Miami at the AHA Congress in the fall of 1976, reporting on experimental work in dogs. And almost exactly 40 years ago to this day, on September 16, 1977, Andreas Grünzig performed the first clinical coronary angioplasty on a patient with a proximal LAD stenosis in Zurich in Switzerland. And as you all know, this was an event that changed the entire field of cardiology. Today, more than 3 million PCI procedures are performed per year around the world. And numerous sessions during this ESC Congress are therefore devoted to PCI. Some reflect on its 40-year history, but most cover PCI itself, and many of them are held on the spotlight stage specifically designed for this purpose. As an example, how would you treat this left main lesion? Get the answer from experts in a session called Let's Talk About Strategy on Monday afternoon. Also, 6 live-in-the-box sessions were recorded at some of the leading centers in Europe. They will allow you to directly follow procedures and discuss with the operators on topics ranging from left main PCI to mitral valve repair and LAA occlusion. Every year, new ESC practice guidelines are issued at the Congress, and this year's brand new guidelines cover some of the most relevant areas for cardiologists: acute myocardial infarction, valvular heart disease, peripheral arterial diseases, and a focused update on dual antiplatelet therapy. I'm sure that you are keen to learn about them in detail in dedicated guideline and guideline implementation sessions. But even beyond the guidelines, our scientific and educational program covers all aspects of cardiovascular disease, from hypertension to heart failure, and from statins to surgery. You have a total of 388 scientific and clinical sessions to choose from, all packed with important and useful content. A total of 1,574 faculty members have been invited to contribute in as many as 2,889 roles. The faculty members come from 74 different countries, another record. So this is truly a global gathering of expertise and excellence in cardiovascular medicine. We do have close to 100 interactive sessions, and please don't download the mobile app, which gives you, besides many other benefits, the option to vote or ask questions directly to the presenters and the chairpersons on the stage. ESC TV is our online channel for daily news, analysis, discussions, and interviews around the Congress. It is led by Keith Fox, who is doing a fantastic job. And feel free to drop by, listen in on special sessions transmitted live to the rest of the world from the ESC TV stage, and follow discussions with prominent cardiologists on the latest science emerging from this Congress. Of course, it will not be possible for you or anyone to attend all that the Congress will be offering you. And at ESC 365, through the ESC website scardio.org, you can watch every single presentation given at the Congress, slides, video, and spoken text all year round, wherever you want and whenever you want. Thank you for joining us here. Thank you for your contributions and for being part of this unique community. I wish you wonderful days in Barcelona, and please enjoy ESC Congress 2017.
Certainly looking forward to that. Congratulations, Stefan. Great job. This year, we're grateful to be back in Barcelona and eager to contribute to our host city that has been so welcoming to us. So the ESC, led by Cardiology Professor Josep Brugada, together with the Football Club Barcelona and the city administration, has created a public awareness program on cardiovascular disease and how to prevent this. This 3-day affair in the Arco de Triunfo, not far from here, features a variety of activities for men, women, and children to better appreciate the importance of proper nutrition, physical activity, and a healthy lifestyle. And to help us promote those messages, we have enlisted a special ambassador, the captain of the Football Club Barcelona, Andrés Iniesta.
They try to open up the Dutch via another route. Iniesta's in the middle all alone. If Fernando Torres can find him, it's stabbed away uncomfortably to Fabregas. Surely now! Surely now! Spain have won the World Cup for the first time in history. Andrés Iniesta has broken Dutch hearts.
I am extremely happy to be here with the captain of Football Club Barcelona, Andrés Iniesta, to talk about the goal, which is very important to all of us, which is prevention of heart disease. Hello, Andrés. Welcome. How did you first become aware of cardiovascular problems, and how do you perceive it?
Bueno, pues en la vida a veces te suceden.
Well, sometimes in life things happen to people around you, or in situations you hear about. I personally had something happen to somebody close to me, and because of that, well, you take these things more seriously, or you try to stop them from happening, and you become much more aware.
We cardiologists, we have 3 important items for cardiovascular prevention, which is to have a healthy food, not to smoke, and to exercise. You are a professional football player, so you exercise a lot, but if you were not, would you still be exercising?
Sí, bueno, intentaría evidentemente tener una
Right, well, I would obviously try to lead a healthy life. In other words, eat well, get the exercise in, try to eliminate possible risk factors for my life and health, and also try to help me make my family and the people around me a bit more aware, so they can all enjoy a healthy lifestyle.
Now you have thousands of cardiologists in front of you. What do you want to tell them?
Proponiendo cosas para que la vida de las personas y de todos en general pues sea mucho más.
Personally, I think there are times we don't appreciate everything doctors do, and we all need to try and create a positive impact on how people live and feel.
O el sentir de las personas pues sea.
I think the phrase that sums it all up is thank you, and I encourage you to keep investigating in this area, because there's always a surprise around the corner.
Thank you so much for your time, Andres.
Thank you, Andres. Thank you, Josep. As I mentioned earlier, and as many of you know well, the field of cardiovascular medicine is evolving rapidly. But where is it headed, especially in this digital era? To provide further insight, we are honored to have Professor Eric Topol deliver our keynote address. Dr. Topol is the chairman of innovative medicine at the Scripps Research Institute in La Jolla, California, and the former chairman of cardiovascular medicine at the Cleveland Clinic. If anyone can peer into the future of medicine, it is this man. Please welcome Professor Eric Topol.
Well, thank you so much, Jeroen. It's wonderful to be here back at the ESC. I've been coming since 1986, and this is the biggest and the best cardiovascular meeting summit in the world. So it's wonderful to be here with you and to talk about the digital future of cardiovascular medicine. So before we get started, it's really important to note where we are in medicine today. The problem is we treat people as a population. We don't really understand each human being. We haven't had the tools to do that. That's with respect to diagnosis, prevention, and treatment. That's changing very quickly, and that is the digital era is ushering in these new tools. And so finally, this statement from 1969 about patient-centered medicine, which we're so far away from today still, we finally have the chance to understand as a unique human being. That's patient-centered medicine, and we haven't even come close yet, but we have the promise to get there. So first, let's talk about digitization of human beings, because that is the real essence of what's new today that wasn't possible just a few years ago. The idea is we can construct a Google medical map, if you will, of many layers of information, whether it be the phenome, or the physiology, the physiome from sensors, the anatome through images, and all the different biologic layers from the DNA to the proteins to the transcriptome to the metabolome and the microbiome, and finally the environment through sensors, the exposome. And this composite view gives us the essence of each human being. And it isn't just one time. It's not a one-off story, perhaps for sequencing a DNA, but it is preconception all the way to death. And in fact, this review article that I had titled From Pre-Womb to Tomb, one of my colleagues said, Eric, you had the wrong title. It should have been From Lust to Dust. Well, he's probably right. Now, one of the most important papers about cardiovascular coronary disease and its prevention was at the American Heart Association a year ago, when it was about the fact that there was a genetic risk score of the different variants in our genome that account for heightened risk, that transcends the clinical risk factors that are well known, established largely through the Framingham Heart Study. And so now, this independent body of knowledge can be used to gauge an individual risk, and also we see that it can be titrated by lifestyle, better lifestyle can cancel out the high risk, as seen in one study after another, as presented at the AHA. And beyond that, statins, one of the most frequently used medicines, certainly among our cardiovascular community. And we now know that that same genetic risk score can predict the value of using statins rather than just putting them in the water supply, as is frequently done. And so we now have the ability to have a mobile app with the variants from a genome array, very inexpensive, that can be done for less than $100, and you can now figure out a genomic risk score. That's individualized medicine. That's digitizing a person on basis of important genomic variants. The problem we have today in medicine is that we are in the midst, early part of the third industrial revolution, and the rest of the world has already moved on to the fourth industrial revolution. We're stuck in 1970 somewhere. Everywhere else is moved on to artificial intelligence, automation, and the use of big data. And we have not really gotten there. In fact, look at the tools that we use today. Analog tools. Every clinic has these non-recording devices. We use a stethoscope that's over 200 years old. It's still the icon of medicine. An analog tool that records nothing. We have these Holter monitors with wires and blood pressure cuffs with no digital devices. And then look at the average hospital room with all sorts of wires in a wireless world. And then, at the same time, there's Moore's Law. And in fact, every year and a half, there's another halving of the cost of chips. And that has not come to medicine. Moore's Law has not yet arrived to medicine. The use of cheap chips to be able to understand each human being's medical essence. But it's just beginning. And the sensors of virtually every physiologic system through wearable means can now be used to track virtually every part of the body. And obviously, one of the most important parts is the cardiovascular system. I won't review all these sensors, of course, but just as an example, the ability to do a cardiogram today is just one lead through fingertips, and Dave Alpert, who's here, is the inventor of this device, and the ability even to have it on a watch if you want. That seems to be a little extreme, perhaps, to watch your cardiogram on a watch, but nonetheless, it's feasible today. And no less is a 6-lead cardiogram imminent that's awaiting approval in the US by the FDA. So more and more we'll see a mobile device that can capture even multiple leads, even a full cardiogram, with algorithmic readings of the cardiogram to the consumer or the individual who has no ability to read a cardiogram. Then there's this blood pressure watch that I've been testing. And it's interesting, this blood pressure watch, you press start, and within a few seconds you get an accurate blood pressure. And so I've been testing this device against established, approved devices like the one pictured here. And I wanted to see what would happen when I would read things that are going on in the US these days. Like Trump budget calls for seismic disruption of medical and science research. What effect would it have? And indeed, you can see my blood pressure would shoot right up each time reading about the great leadership of the United States, which is obviously couldn't be further from the truth. Now, what about glucose? The fact that you can have a glucose glance and look at your phone or your watch at any moment in time, every 5 minutes updated, is of course a remarkable ability for diabetics or even those wanting to prevent diabetes. So without going into multiple details of these sensors, let me just assure you we are moving to an era of the medicalized smartphone. So much pluripotent capabilities through the phone that you rely on for daily life now will be for health for you and, of course, for patients. And in fact, whether it be Apple, Samsung, all the manufacturers of these devices are on it and have patents with this idea of a medicalized smartphone. But it isn't just the use on a consumer basis, it's also the use in daily medical practice. One of the things that's striking to me is that we have not gotten over the stethoscope, when in fact there are these smartphone true stethoscopes that look into the body. And so the one I've been using is pictured here. It's a Philips device that connects with the Android phone, and it produces immediately exquisite images. And I use it in every patient I see in clinic. And so you see these images. Why would we listen to lub-dub anymore when we can see everything instantly? And we can preempt the need for hundreds of millions of unnecessary echocardiograms or ultrasound studies. And this, of course, you can do color flow. And some people will say, well, that's just, Eric, you're showing a very superior image. Well, that's not true, because here is someone with a BMI of over 40. The image quality is really extraordinary. And we have published on the fact that the image quality is as good as in the ultrasound echo laboratory. But still, no conversion of most cardiologists to a modern, real stethoscope. Scope meaning look inside, and recording the data. So when I got this device, I was very excited. I thought I would do a very extensive head-to-toe medical selfie. And so I use this device to image my carotid arteries, my sinuses, my thyroid, my lung. You've already seen the heart, liver, gallbladder, spleen, kidney, iliac artery, aorta, the inferior vena cava, popliteal fossa, and my left foot. Everything. A complete ultrasound medical selfie. And I thought that was kind of fun. It was a kick to do that because it only took minutes with a smartphone. And then, months later, I started having some pain in my left flank. And I imaged my flank, and I saw the kidney stones. And I said, well, I need to go and get an emergency room evaluation. And indeed, the CT scan was almost superimposable, the images that I got through my smartphone. And you should have seen the emergency room doctor when I showed him the stones on my phone. And he said, what are you doing? So here they are, finally passed, but the point being is that you can diagnose things through your phone today. It's not just about sensors, it's about imaging. So digitization is moving forward very quickly, and now we can move to the next phase. That is a very different outlook for patients, because they're now sharing symmetrically the data with some examples I've given you. And that gives us the democratization of medicine, which is really exciting. The end of medical paternalism. And so here you see a change in attitude exemplified by this little video segment.
Miss Kelly, the doctor will see you now. Can you let the doctor know that I'll be with him shortly? Huh? I am getting a lot of work done. Your Wi-Fi is very fast. But he's ready for you now. I'll be with him as soon as I can.
Is she ready?
Not yet, but you're next.
Right. This change in attitude that's occurring very quickly because of access of one's information as a consumer, as an individual. And so instead of the doctor will see you now, it's everyone else but the doctor will see you now, as shown throughout these various recent articles throughout the literature. And this smartphone, by giving that person the data of immediate access, not just their data, but even to a physician. So now, instead of waiting 3.4 weeks, which is the average in the US, I don't know what it is in these other 139 countries, but it's very long to see a primary care doctor. And now you can see a doctor through the phone in 3 seconds. And this is changing medicine as well. And in fact, we projected that over the years ahead, there will be more virtual visits than there will be physical, traditional visits in the office because of these features. And it will not only be a visit, but it will be exchanging of data during or before the visit. It's also changing medical research and giving a whole new respect title to participants that used to be called subjects. And so we are involved in leading a large part of the All of Us program that was initially announced by President Obama in 2015. It is now enrolling. And this precision medicine initiative at Scripps, at the Vanderbilt, the data center, and Mayo Clinic as the biobank is moving forward with the enrollment of 1 million Americans, a true cross-section of the United States. And we are running the so-called participant center at the Scripps Research Institute. And in many ways, it's a modern Framingham study which influenced our field to such an extraordinary extent, but now on high-dose steroids. Very large sample across all different ethnicities, geography, socioeconomic class, and then again enrolled largely through mobile devices. And this idea of a digital end-to-end clinical trial, finding people who would be appropriate through information resources, having them generate their own data, having their data returned to them, developing massive information resources or knowledge banks. This is a whole new concept of doing clinical research. Now, the other area that's perhaps most intensely moving in other parts outside of healthcare and medicine is deep learning, artificial intelligence, the third D, if you will. And so now we see on covers of magazines about these AI, artificial intelligence doctors and robots. We'll see you now. That's not exactly what we have in mind, and a lot of hype is associated with this, like this IBM Watson ads, full-page ads that say, I can read 5,000 new medical studies a day and still see patients. Well, there's a little problem with that. They've never published one paper that proves that it can be done. But that's okay, a lot of hype about artificial intelligence. And there's lots of everything's deep these days because of deep learning, because of it's so exciting for its potential impact to change the future of medicine now that it's getting digitized. And so just in case you're not fully in step with AI, deep learning is just one form, one subset of artificial intelligence. And basically, it's a neural network where input, whether it be images or words or voice, is then go through multiple layers of this neural network, these hidden layers, to get an output. And that's a simplified version of deep learning. What's striking about this is that before we had deep learning, when we would have data, big data, it reached a plateau above which it would be saturated. We would learn nothing more. But with deep learning, there's never enough data. It's always the ability to learn more and more. So for example, this study that was reported from Stanford showed that 13 different rhythms, heart rhythms, could be diagnosed better by deep learning algorithms than by cardiologists. And this is with 34 layers in that neural network to be able to get that type of result. But deep learning has now been extended to the diagnosis of retinopathy for diabetics, well beyond doctors. Or at Stanford again, the diagnosis of skin cancer beyond the accuracy of 21 board-certified Stanford dermatologists. So deep learning has immense potential to automate, make more accurate, and less expensive. Just think about this. 260 million images, scans, read by deep learning for the cost of $1,000 in a day. So good thing you're not a radiologist, of course, because that would potentially be threatening. Now, it's not just on the physician side of deep learning, it's also for each individual. When their data is available to them, and it's constantly being reviewed in a neural network, it can be used to guide them, to help manage conditions or prevent them. And so digital assistants like this, Alexa or Google Home, have become incredibly popular. And in fact, people love them because they can talk, they don't have to type, they don't have to put in any passwords, they don't have to deal with any apps. It's very natural. And indeed, it's reflected by over 250,000 people asked Alexa to marry last year. So there's a lot of popularity of this whole digital voice assistant. The idea there would be editorials about Siri, which is not a very good form of AI for voice, but it's the essence of, am I about to have a heart attack? That gives you a sense of where this can be headed in the future. So I just want to leave you with the future of medicine. I've tried to review that deep phenotyping is essential. And that's the ability that we didn't have before. And the second part is that deep learning, because of all this data that's flowing, whether it be on the physician, clinician side, or on the person side is going to be really a great opportunity to upgrade care. But the most important deep thing is something I haven't spent any time on, but I want to leave you with the most important thing to say, which is the deep empathy and connection. It is the hope that these other tools of understanding each human being and having the ability to process their data in a meaningful way that's continuous and seamless will give us more time. And as Francis Peabody said back in 1927, the secret of patient care is caring for the patient. And we need to do that and emphasize that all the more. Thanks so much for your attention, and thank you for all the people I get to work with.
Fantastic, fantastic lecture, spectacular. Thank you for coming and doing this with us. Here is a token of our appreciation. Take some photos.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And now we're going to together enjoy some very light entertainment.
Okay, very good, very good.
Thank you. Thank you very much for this excellent entertainment. Thank you again. At each ESC Congress, we have the privilege of honoring cardiologists whose lifetime of achievement have made extraordinary contributions to our field. And that's why we hand out our gold medals. Our first gold medalist for 2017 is a man who has served as president of the American College of Cardiology and the American Society of Echocardiography. He has authored or co-authored more than 700 articles for medical journals. He was the editor-in-chief of the American College of Cardiology, ladies and gentlemen, from the University of California, San Diego, Dr. Anthony Di Maria.
I guess I would say the main achievements in my professional life have been the people I've trained. I've had the blessing of working with some enormously talented individuals. When I look back, both the very senior individuals and the other fellows and residents I've had a chance to work with have really been a source of enormous pride to me. From a research standpoint, I guess I would have to say my greatest accomplishments lie in the field of contrast echocardiography, particularly myocardial contrast echocardiography. It was a real thrill to, for the very first time, show that contrast echocardiography could opacify the myocardium and lead to some very interesting insights in terms of myocardial perfusion. Now, I think increasingly in the future we may have online publications. The ability to go online gives you so much more flexibility in terms of real-time videos, in terms of rapidly accessing references, whether it's online, whether it's a print journal. Medical publications are always going to be the critical step new research has to go through to be accepted as validated and important. I think handheld cardiac ultrasound is underutilized. At the bedside, it's an enormously powerful tool for getting information that we can't get in any other way at the bedside. And in addition to that, contrast cardiac ultrasound is also underutilized. It enables us to derive a lot of information from suboptimal studies, and yet is done in only a small percentage of those patients who could benefit. There's no question that in the next decade, cardiology will be much more technological. Computers will bring more information to physicians as well as to patients. And in fact, sensors will also provide information that we don't have available to us now. So there'll be lots and lots of imaging technology and other kinds of technological advances. But when it's all said and done, the role of the physician in terms of providing reassurance and relief to patients, the human touch, the interaction between doctors and patients will always be of critical importance. In the final analysis, technology will be great, but medicine will remain a healing art.
Tony, please join us on stage. Congratulations.
Thank you
It's a
very
real
much.
pleasure to award you for everything you've done with the gold medal of the European Society of Cardiology. Tony, please say a few words.
Well, for the past couple of days, I've been trying to think of something very profound to say, but I haven't really come up with anything. I am, of course, humbled to receive this honor. If I was on the selection committee, I'm not sure I would have selected me, but I'm enormously grateful and appreciative to Dr. Bax and the committee for giving me this enormous honor. If I was thinking about what I owe whatever I've been able to achieve to it would be a couple of things. One was just being in the right place at the right time. I've been so lucky to be in the right place, to be given opportunity. The second was to work with enormously talented colleagues, mentors and peers, and even patients and students who kept pushing me to find a better way to do things. Now, on a personal note, 2 weeks ago, my wife and I celebrated our 50th wedding anniversary, and if I owe whatever I've achieved to anyone, it's to my wife. She's been my partner and been there day in and day out through thick and thin for 50 years. Now, in medicine, we're really blessed. We're privileged to be able to give people the most important thing in their life, to give them back their health. And I've been blessed to be in medicine. I've said a million times that I would go to work tomorrow even if they didn't pay me. And so after a lifetime of having the privilege to be in medicine and to deal with patients and to deal with education and research, it's amazing that now they're giving me an award. It doesn't get any better than that. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. Our second gold medalist was actively involved with the first applications of nuclear cardiology, thrombolysis and coronary dilatation. At the University of Louvain in Brussels, he directed the cardiac PET program, and later he joined the group in Aalst as co-director of the Cardiovascular Center. He has authored or co-authored more than 500 publications in medical journals. He served on the board of the European Society of Cardiology, the World Heart Federation, and the European Association for Percutaneous Cardiovascular Interventions. He is currently the chair of EuroPCR. Ladies and gentlemen, Professor William Wines.
What I think are the key achievements. First of all, we have an impact on patients' lives. Not only quality of life, there's a number of procedures where intervention is saving lives. The second is the focus on patient preference. Today, patients have many choices, and our field was able to grow and expand the scope of its activity through patient preference. And the third one, I think, is that our procedures have sort of contaminated other fields of medicine, so that we came from interventional cardiology to, I think, interventional medicine. Other disciplines have adopted more patient-friendly approaches to treatment and using the endovascular route as a guide, a map to reach the target organ. Number one is people, number two is people, number three is people. I was fortunate enough to meet super mentors. These people engaged me into research, into coronary circulation, interaction with the myocardium. Others engaged me into the world of education and the power of sharing knowledge with colleagues, all the way to my current great project, which is in Ireland, and implementing connected health to treat patients. Good practices come from a blend between knowledge, skills, and experience. So you can only acquire this optimal blend through continuous medical education, so it's absolutely key. And it's largely based on sharing, and I think that in Europe and beyond, we have an edge. I think we are proposing educational experiences based on sharing and adult learning that are very much appreciated and needed by colleagues worldwide.
Really, I can't think of any. I think globalization is benefit for everybody. One young colleague told me, you know, William, when I'm working hard in the cath lab, full day, I can help 10 patients. When I'm coming to the course, sharing my know-how, I can help thousands of tens. What a wonderful inspiration. So forget about circulation, publications, H-index for a moment. If I was told that I'm granted this medal because I may have been a source of inspiration to younger colleagues, I'll be the happiest man on earth.
William, please come on the stage. It gives me immense pleasure to award you with the European Society's Gold Medal. Are we done? William, please speak a few words.
Thank you. Well, it's quite something, isn't it? It's quite something to receive the Gold Medal of the European Society of Cardiology. This award is extremely meaningful to me for a number of reasons, but I'll quote only a few. We are here gathered all together in Barcelona. We are celebrating the 40 years of angioplasty. And all of this happens under the presidency of Jeroen, under the presidency of Professor Bax. So I shall cherish this very special moment for the rest of my life with my family. It's best I can't see you too well. Don't cry. Grazie. And also with my professional family, the vibrant interventional community worldwide. Indeed, no greater honor can come to any man than respect from his colleagues and peers. Thank you for this precious gift.
Finally, we want to publicly recognize someone who is both a remarkable cardiologist and an exceptional humanitarian. Knighted for services to medicine and surgery in 1991, Sir Mahdi Yaqub pioneered a number of operations to correct congenital heart conditions and improve heart transplant surgery. Indeed, he has performed more heart transplants than any surgeon in the world. In 2009, he launched the Aswan Heart Center project to combat heart disease in his native Egypt. It provides state-of-the-art facilities, research and scientific methods to provide heart patients, and especially the underprivileged, with the highest standards of care available today. Let's take a quick look at Sir Mahdi's story.
I think as soon as you can get him, because this kid cannot wait. If you have them class 1, class 2, class 3, he's a class 1. He could become hemiplegic any minute, and then everything is lost almost. So it really is important to get him. I've been fascinated by medicine and surgery because since my childhood, but my dad was a general surgeon. He lost his younger sister during childbirth when she was in her early 20s, and he said that this could have been cured by heart surgery. As a 4 or 5-year-old, I declared I will be a cardiac surgeon. And he said, but you're not qualified to do that. I mean, you'll never make it. The rest is history. Heart transplantation came at a certain time when it was really badly needed. And with the advance in science of immunosuppression, it became possible. My colleagues and myself got really immersed in it. And we were doing like 120 operations, transplants a year. Some of these patients have survived for 30 years. I think heart failure remains the most important, challenging feature in medicine. And the other topic, of course, inequalities. There has been a lot of discoveries in cardiovascular medicine, but it reaches only 15 to 20% of the population of the world, and that's really totally unacceptable. This is one of the major challenges which has to be addressed. It should be sustainable. It should be there forever after all of us, and therefore it has to be done by the local people for the local community, and importantly it should be at the very highest level, and it should incorporate research not as an addition but as a core. This is what we have learned and what is different in the chain hall. The idea of the Aswan Heart Center originated from the fact the population there used to travel to the north of Egypt, and the children in particular arrived in a sorry state, and therefore it was felt that they should have a center of excellence in the area which is neglected. In addition, it is the gateway to Africa, and now we are just starting a very big Aswan Heart Center as a campus of treatment, research, humanity, training. We address all sectors of the community in Egypt, from the poor and desolate to those who are intellectually inquisitive and want to discover new things. So this is very exciting indeed.
Sir Mahdi, the ESC is proud of you and all the charitable work that you are doing. It's having a profound impact, and we would like to support it with a financial contribution to the Aswan Heart Center. Sir Mahdi, please join us on stage. Come here. Go here together. It's a great honor to share with you this contribution to your fantastic work and your fantastic center. Please, congratulations, and thank you for all the good that you're doing for this world.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
I got a little bit emotional there because I don't know anybody who's doing so much good work like you. Please say a few words.
Thank you very much. I'm Jorin, Mr. President, and the Society. I'm not usually lost for words. On this occasion, I am a bit. All what I want to say is that on behalf of my colleagues at the Aswan Heart Center and the Chain of Hope, I would like to say that we are truly humbled and appreciative of the kind words the support of the society, the Czech. And all what I can say that we promise faithfully that we will do our best to uphold the spirit which you've been talking about and the high values of the society. And that is a promise. Thank you.
Sir Mahdi Yacoub. Every year at this time, we like to acknowledge the ESC's young community. This is a wonderfully dedicated and dynamic group and the future of our society and basically any society in the world. We're eager to support them, and one way is financially. Here are the names of the ESC grant recipients for 2017. Congratulations to you all. We're getting near the end of this inauguration ceremony, and we saved the best for last because we now get to officially welcome the 340 new fellows of the ESC. We know the time and effort you have dedicated to your research to reach this point, and we salute you. I ask all new fellows to please stand and be recognized by all of us, your colleagues. Please watch the screen for the names of our new, just elected ESC fellows. Thank you. Thank you. Congratulations to all our ESC fellows, new and not so new. Now, without further ado, it gives me immense pleasure to declare ESC Congress 2017, your Congress, officially open. And I invite all of you to join me and the association presidents in the ESC Professional Members Lounge for a cocktail reception right now. We will not do the congratulations here, but we go to the fellow lounge. To ensure you don't get lost along the way, we have employed 2 men head and shoulders above the rest. You can see them at the back of the hall. And they will lead us, all of us, to the lounge. We're on our way. Thank you all.